Does our society really even need artists? Okay, so chapter 1 discusses what encompasses the idea of living with art. And the chapter begins by discussing a very modern sculpture by the artist named Brancusi, and it describes how he approaches his life with art. And although you may not experience art the way a professional artist does on a day-to-day basis, the text points out how everyone can seek out encounters with art and to think about it and to enjoy it and to let it fill our imaginations. In fact, art affects you more than you may realize. The text talks about these aesthetic experiences which you actually have on a daily basis. Now, aesthetics is a branch of philosophy that really studies and looks at the feelings that you get from your five senses. And so these aesthetic experiences are really fundamental to our enjoyment and our quality of life. And so when we listen to amazing music, or we taste great food, when we see a beautiful sunset or an amazing work of art, we get this sense of transcendence. And that kind of feeling that is aroused, it's I believe, is the true pointer to some kind of supreme truth or supreme beauty that we know to be the divine. Now, more about my thoughts on that later. The text then goes on to explain how humans seem to have a natural impulse for art. And this goes as far back as the old Stone Age or the Paleolithic era, where we find people painting bulls and other animals on the cave walls. And really, when you look at these early paintings, it reminds us that the ability and desire to create is like written into our DNA as humans. It's really one of the major things that separate humanity from other life forms. I think it's interesting that when we read in the Genesis account, we read about how God made man in his image and then commanded man to continue to cultivate, maintain order, and care for his creation. And so that's why it's so amazing when you create, because when you do, you are really doing something very godlike. And therefore you're fulfilling one of your purposes as a human, and that is to cultivate and to care and to bring about beauty in this world, which then ultimately points and brings glory to God. But I find it interesting that not only do we see this impulse for art when we look at the ancient cave paintings or even monumental works like Stonehenge that dates back to the Neolithic era, but I can just look at my 3-year-old daughter and I see that humans just have a natural impulse for art. You know, we're all born with these creative capacities and just desires to create. And so kids just have these incredible imaginations. And it's really unfortunate that these creative yearnings really lessen as we get older. So perhaps that's why Picasso once said, "Every child is an artist, but the problem is trying to remain an artist once he grows up." Now, after discussing our artistic impulses, the text then discusses how artists are important and contribute to society. They describe how artists are important because, one, they create spaces and places for human experiences. The text discusses Maya Lin's Vietnam Memorial to illustrate the type of experience that an artist can create. Artists also contribute to society by transforming the ordinary into the extraordinary. Art has the unique ability to do this. Additionally, artists benefit society by their unique ability to record and commemorate events. I mean, without art, many of these important experiences that we treasure would really be long forgotten. Artists also benefit society by their ability to make the unknown tangible. For example, this sculpture of a Hindu god Shiva embodies many abstract spiritual ideas from Hinduism and help these ideas become more tangible to worshipers. Similarly, artists also have the unique ability to make even our feelings tangible. Nothing against the scientist, but emotions just can't be appreciated from a test tube. These emotions and feelings are a really important part of our human experience. And to be honest, a lot of times they're really best understood when communicated expressively and often in visual form. If you want a perfect example of this, take a closer look at Van Gogh's Starry Night. You don't just look at this painting, you feel it. And that's one of the reasons why this image has resonated so powerfully in our culture. After discussing the role of artists in society, the text then discusses the role of creativity in one's life and what it means to be creative. The chapter then ends by discussing one's ability to look and perceive. One of the great things about studying art is that it really strengthens your visual awareness, and it allows you to think critically about your entire visual experience. It reminds me of something that I learned when I was training to be a docent at this art museum. In my training, they actually asked me, what was the average time people spend looking at art in an art museum? What do you think? How much time do people spend looking at a work of art in an art museum? Do you know what it is? 3 seconds. And I find that interesting because, you know, in our fast-paced, hyper-stimulated world, we just no longer know how to let art in and allow it to change us and to inspire us and to excite us. When it comes to art, the average American consumer is just looking for something cheap to match their sofa. And so this class will really help you learn to make the most out of your experiences with art and to teach you to slow down and to appreciate art by spending more time with it. You can't really appreciate film just by watching a trailer, and you don't appreciate art just by spending 3 seconds with it. I am certain that the more time you spend looking at art, the more your life will be transformed and enriched. The visual arts serves a crucial role in our society, and you will just find that a robust awareness of it will just bring so much fulfillment to your life and really reward you for the rest of your life. So those are just some of the main ideas in Chapter 1, Living with Art.